cool. This build is so disgusting that I've been playing the entire game with max madness, meaning I take extra damage and I still had no problem dealing with anything I came across. The reason this build is so broken is because almost every enemy and even some bosses can be knocked down for a critical blow super quickly. This is also paired with the ability to literally take hits to your face and beat any enemy or even groups of enemies with more ease than any other weapon. You'll be able to constantly heal while dishing out insane damage. Dual Blade's first skill basically introduces you to clashing and how it works. Anytime your attack hits the enemy's attack, a clash is procced, reducing the damage you would normally take. Every weapon skill tree has the ability to do a quick version of your charged heavy attack. The dual blades are able to take insane advantage of this by giving your heavy attack the ability to clash with the skill Wavebreaker. You can both skillfully and even recklessly use your Skyborn heavy attack to make enemies instantly vulnerable, leaving them wide open to more hits for free and even the finishing critical strike for even more massive damage and invincibility during it as well. And if you have the HP on Backstab Benediction equipped to your weapon, while they're vulnerable, you can focus on striking their back for more HP regen. Swift Warrior gives you a Skybound Might on the 4th attack of your light combo. This skill is deceptively good. Normally you'd think having to do 4 whole hits to get 1 charge might not be that great, and you'd be right. But actually the heavy attack lets you skip the first 2 attacks in your light combo. So paired with a Skybound heavy attack, you can then light attack twice and gain a charge, allowing you to use your Skybound heavy again whenever you want. Ideally the moment you see the enemy about to go for their next attack. You might have to break the habit of spamming the dodge button every single time you see an attack coming, but at least you know that you normally have the timings down for when to dodge an attack, except now you'll be replacing it with the heavy attack in a lot of situations. Now if that sounds like too much, earlier I did mention it can be done recklessly as well. So even if you're not super comfortable trying to time your attacks, you can simply spam the heavy attack after the Skybound heavy, which will still clash throughout the entire combo, given that you unlock the Wavebreaker skill, which makes all your heavy and charge attacks gain clash. As for the skill Mighty Combination, your 6th light attack now also gives you Skybound Might. So in a lot of situations, you'll be opening with a Skybound heavy, then just spamming your light combo to quickly gain 2 Skybound charges just like that. And to make this whole setup even better, with Leaf Slasher, you now get clash on your 4th, 5th, and 6th light attack, making the whole combo able to infinitely repeat itself while you gain charges constantly and take reduced damage throughout the whole thing. The last skill in the dual blade skill tree you'll want is your weapon's discipline skill. The one I found to be the absolute best for this build is the Blademaster skill. This skill makes the build even more insane now. Every time your weapon clashes, you'll actually restore some HP. Literally, the one thing to originally be worried about with this build is that yes, we are taking reduced damage, but it's still damage. We would die eventually unless we stop and heal. Well, now you don't have to stop because we're gaining HP each clash. Paired with Backstab HP regen, we're practically invincible. Not to mention Blademaster also makes your light attacks faster. So on top of the DPS increase you get from that, the more important thing to factor in is the increased likelihood of your attacks clashing during your light combo, since your clash hitbox is pretty much going to be out there more frequently. Before we go over the important skills on the left side as well, I'll point out the skill Steel Edge here, which is the ability to deflect enemy attacks with the Twin Bandit dual blades. If you don't have these weapons, or maybe even prefer a different dual blade over them, then that's fine. I personally enjoy them and feel like they help a lot with some of the more absurd enemy attacks in the game. And over on the left side, there's another skill that has to do with the deflect, so I obviously grabbed that as well. The next skill you'll want is Health Siphon, to further increase the amount of HP you're gaining from the final strike of your light combo. Obviously with the heavy attack shortcut and Blademaster speeding up our light attacks, this skill will proc pretty often, giving us yet another source of HP regen. Over here are some optional choices. If you feel like for some reason you want even more lifesteal, you can go for the Life Leech Needle. Otherwise, picking one of these elements can help contribute to more damage if you feel like you have a ton of extra skill points to spend. I didn't feel like I really needed any of these for most of the game since the fire bone needle that we get super early on was pretty much enough. But if you want some extra damage, there's plenty to gain from applying a feathering or magic bone needle to your temperance, since there are some nodes that boost feathering and magic to +5, as well as the impact skill over here that further increases feathering attack power. But again, you might not want this stuff until way later, since there's plenty of stat points you could be getting that boost your damage without having a limit of only 3 uses of your temperance item per rest. I found the AjilityPoints skill to only very recently feel like enough of a boost that it was kind of worth it. Since the game seems to offer so few of these so far, it hardly seems smart to put a point into a temporary buff that gave only a bit more extra damage, so that's something to consider. The additional temperance charges can be really nice to help boost your damage output even further. Just in general, even if you don't have points put into those previously mentioned skills, since with more charges, you'll feel less precious about saving them as often and instead help speed up fights against any enemies you find more troubling than others. It can also help in boss fights as you can apply the buff just before entering the fight and basically reapply the buff anytime it runs out, usually having enough to last the whole fight. And that's it for the skill tree for the most part. There are some stat increasing nodes you can take advantage of from other weapon trees if you'd like. For example, the spear tree only requires 4 skill points to gain +5 agility and +5 strength, which is a huge boost to damage. Just something that's more beneficial stat wise versus just trying to max out a single agility node in the dual blade skill tree 3 times when you can practically triple that for about the same cost. For benedictions, as of right now, I'm using Tri-Disciplinary Force, which you can buy from Wuchang shop. It's just free damage, and no, you don't actually need to spend skill points to learn extra discipline skills. The game basically gives you enough disciplines for free as soon as you start the game. The second is one I've already mentioned, but having backstab attacks recover a small amount of health is easily one of my favorites. The last one is Combo Force, which makes consecutive attacks increase our damage, and that's pretty self-explanatory for this build. I'll preface that I don't have every single benediction in the game, so there could easily be more out there that offer slightly more value, but these 3 are the best I have. As for armor, I kind of just wear whatever has decent physical damage reduction, and I'll sometimes change it around depending on the area or the boss. For pendants, since these can be swapped whenever, I usually have these 3 on: Eagle for more damage, Dragonfish for more max stamina, and the Twin Infant for stamina recovery. Sometimes I'll swap out the Eagle for other pendants depending on the situation. I'll often use the LIFESTEAL pendant when I know I'm going through an area trying to discover secrets and things. It makes this pendant pretty reliable as a way to keep myself topped off on HP. Or sometimes the Ludon pendant if I want some extra damage resist, but there are definitely some pendants I haven't even gotten yet, and even ones I already have can be good for many different scenarios. These are just some of my usuals. As for spells, I have to admit, I genuinely have so much fun just staying inside of a brawl with enemies that I don't really use any spells. The only one I use maybe is the Divine Ward, which just gives you a damage reduction buff, and even that one I mainly just use for bosses. So even in late game areas, you can basically run through an entire area in minutes, killing everything along the way. The amount of stamina you have keeps you dashing from enemy to enemy, the charges you're gaining lets you destroy them instantly, and the health steal you're getting keeps you living through the entire thing without having to stop and heal. For bosses, it's almost a joke how quickly you can beat them with this build. Even some of the harder bosses in the game, I've found this build just tears them apart, especially the bosses that you can make vulnerable. It's pretty disgusting, and I'm absolutely in love with it. I hope you guys try it out yourselves, and definitely feel free to let me know in the comments of any pendants or spells that I might not have that could make this build even crazier. Thanks for watching. Be sure to sub if you want to see more content like this, and a like would be super appreciated. You can find me streaming live on Twitch. Link is in the bio if you want to stop by. Later.